Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena from Wholeness Campaign, and today I want to talk about how I nourished myself postpartum slash how I would have nourished myself postpartum had I had some of the information that I do now, in hindsight. I do want to start by saying that this is going to come from a more ancestral gap style, Weston A. Price style of eating where we're looking at ways to nourish the body. We're looking at making sure that we're really taking care of the body from a holistic perspective, and definitely not falling into that camp of just consuming as many carbs as possible because you might need it for breastfeeding or whatever that you've heard from maybe your pediatrician. To be honest with you guys, my early postpartum was a little bit rocky and I would definitely have done it differently. So a lot of these tips are coming from me having maybe messed it up a little bit or done it in a way that I probably wouldn't recommend people doing it. And a second time around, I probably will choose to do things differently. So I want to share a little bit of my perspective and some things that I've learned, and also some tips about detoxing postpartum that I think could be really helpful, especially since some of the information out there is a little bit controversial. So let's jump in. I want to start by saying that the first and primary goal that you're going to have postpartum is to communicate safety to your body. So you're looking to communicate that you're safe. This is not a time for fasting. This is not a time for exercise. This is not a time for really even getting out of bed at all, especially in the early days postpartum. This is really about recovery. So you want all of your focus and all of your energy to be on recovery, as if you just got major surgery. You're going to treat your body with that level of care and caution. I definitely did exerted myself probably too far in the early days, and I paid for it, you guys. Seriously, I had some really, really intense pelvic floor pain that I've now realized was partially due to the ways that I didn't let myself rest postpartum. And in the first several days, I definitely wasn't prioritizing good nutrient dense foods. So this is really not a time for hopping up on caffeine. It's not a time for intermittent fasting or even late breakfasts. You really want to be eating as much as your body is wanting you to eat. And even when you're not hungry, but it's mealtime, being willing to actually put something in your body that's nourishing, because oftentimes our hormones are so all over the place. This is what I learned, that you may not actually feel hunger, but your body needs the fuel. And there was actually several points where I didn't feel hungry. I felt actually, especially like points of nausea and just turned away from food in general at certain points, and I actually paid for it. That was actually when my postpartum hair loss started. Was able to actually reverse it once I started adding in back those nutrient dense foods. So it's really important. It matters more than conventional mainstream. People are going to tell you that it matters because the nourishment that you have, your nutrient capacity, is going straight to your baby, and your body is going to prioritize the health of the baby. So if you have only very minimal nutrient and mineral stores, all of that's going to the baby, and you might actually end up feeling terrible. You might come down with things like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. All of these things can actually be supported with nutrition. And I think a good nutrition forward approach would address that. But I think, there is a little bit of a discrepancy in our culture between what is like caused by, lifestyle factors and what's just like genetic. And truthfully, I think postpartum depression oftentimes is very much a lack of either nutrient intake or nutrient absorption, and that is like probably a whole separate conversation. But really, how you nourish yourself postpartum is going to dictate a lot of how you experience motherhood to be in those first several weeks and months, and that's just been what my experience has been. So the focus really should be on nutrient dense foods. You're not here just consuming like large quantities of food, although that might actually happen. You might need that, but the focus really is the quality of the food. And you want to really focus on foods that are easily digestible. This is going to be organ meats, it's going to be your liver, it's going to be your heart, oysters, spleen, all of those like organ meats that are especially rich in iron, because your body's going to need to be refueled with iron after some of that blood loss. You're going to want nice quality grass-fed meats, soups, and broths. If you are interested in learning how to make meat stock, this would be like the number one thing I would recommend, because your body needs so much collagen as it's repairing tissue internally. And meat stock is one of the best ways you can do that. So if you want to check out my meat stock video, I'll link it above and in the description box. But I would really recommend, especially if you can, before you have your baby, prepping some meat stock, getting that ready, making sure that you always have like a little bit of a supply of one so that when you're newly postpartum, you're able to just sip on that, because that is probably like my biggest nutrition recommendation postpartum. I experienced so much benefit from it. So you're going to want really the high fat, the butter, the tallow, the lard. Anything really high fat is going to be very nourishing for your adrenals. It's going to be really nourishing for that baby. It's super important for breast milk. A really good high fat diet, as much as your body is able to tolerate. Then you're also really going to want to focus on minerals. So minerals like magnesium, making sure you've got all your electrolytes. So thinking things like coconut water, raw milk, using mineral drops. I will leave my Aussie Trace mineral link in the description box below if you're interested in some like easy electrolyte drops. But just making sure you are stored, because again, all of your nutrients are going to prioritize the baby. And so minerals become a really big factor in energy, feeling good, your mental state. So like probiotic brines, anything like meat stock is also going to support that. But yeah, raw milk, coconut water, that's what I really leaned heavy on. You can do things like teas. You can do anything really warming. Chinese medicine has this theory that the colder the food is, the more work your body actually has to do to warm it up. And then obviously your body's trying to recover. And so you want your body to be doing as minimal work digesting as possible. So that's also my emphasis on like soups and broths, is because that's one of the most easily digestible foods that there is a good meat stock. Not a bone broth, but a meat stock. Something that your body doesn't have to do a ton of work to digest. Along the lines of that Chinese medicine, it's going to be nothing raw. So making sure that you're cooking your vegetables, that they're not necessarily raw, or if you are doing cold things, that you're pairing them with warm things. This goes along with some recommendations that Becky Plotner has in her book. It's the GAPS Baby Book. And what's interesting is that it also is in line with much of the introduction diet. And so intro GAPS really goes down to the bare bones, the most nutrient dense, the most easily digestible, because it's really putting as little strain on the digestive system as possible so that you can give yourself time to heal. And that idea kind of translates really well to the postpartum period. You're really trying to let your body heal, and so you're not giving yourself foods that are going to be harder to digest. A lot of the sugary carbohydrates that we think that we need postpartum, like in the snack tables off the side of your bed. I mean, I understand the hunger in the middle of the night. I do get it. And honestly, I fell into that a little bit, but I found that like those snacky foods, those like packaged, prepackaged, even like the healthier of the prepackaged, was not what my body really wanted postpartum. And I would end up, you know, there's a lot going on, and I ended up kind of reacting to some of those. And your body just does not need that extra stress of trying to, you know, sift through, of trying to purge toxins if you're intaking toxins through your food. We think that it's this like magical moment once you have your baby, you can eat all these crappy foods, but actually that's the moment where you really got to kind of kickstart and begin fueling yourself on another level. So in an ideal world, you would have actually been able to prep some meals postpartum. You would have lots of freezer meals stashed and ready to go so that you don't have to spend any energy on cooking, or barely any energy, or your spouse can just pop it in the oven and then it's ready and good to go. I was able to prep some food postpartum, and we were so, so thankful that we did that. But if for whatever reason you weren't able to do that, this is where I would really lean on those slow cooked meat stocks, broths, soups, stews, because those are so easy to put together. And you guys, honestly, I think some people think that the healthier foods are so much more complicated, but they really can be so easy. I went ahead and made like a 10 recipe postpartum guide for like some of the fastest meals I know to make. So if you didn't prep your meals, or you did some minimal prepping, or you're looking to know what to prep, this guide gives you like 10 recipes that I like leaned on super heavy postpartum, and all of them can be put together in very minimal time. Some of them 5 minutes or less, and I'll notate the time it takes for each of those. Some of them are crock pot meals. Some of them are just really easy, simple, fast little meals and snacks that are nutrient dense. It can be a lot to kind of think through meals postpartum, and so this can maybe give your partner or a family member who's wanting to buy for you or cook for you, a good guideline of what to do for you. Okay, I just want to give like a little caveat on detox postpartum because I don't think it's talked about a lot. And I had some questions in my DMs about it. So there is a common misconception, and this is why people don't go on GAPS when they're pregnant, or they don't eat GAPS food when they're postpartum. It's this misconception that if you go on some kind of nutrient dense diet, you're going to put too much stress on your body. It's going to be purging toxins, and those toxins are just going to go to the baby that's developing in your womb, or it's going to go through your breast milk to the baby. And so you really don't want to go on too nutrient dense of a diet, which it's all kind of this whole misconception and myth. Um, because the reality is that nutrient dense foods really, really serve your body so well. Even if the nutrient density sometimes causes detox reactions, oftentimes it actually is really worth it. So you have to weigh your situation and, talk with a practitioner if you want to. There is a level of detoxification that you don't want to put your body under, especially if you're just starting or considering doing any kind of detox protocol. I would just honestly ask yourself if it's going to put any level of stress on your body. You're going to want to like either wait or really, really, really go minimal. So that goes for like how you're introducing fermented foods when you're postpartum. You do want to be doing that, but you're going to have to weigh it against your own body and your needs. So there's this myth that says that you can't detox at all postpartum because that would just all be going to the baby. And you do have to weigh your specific situation. There are certain detox things I probably wouldn't do, but there are a couple of things that are generally safe for most people to do when they're newly postpartum, even pregnant. I kind of did another video on that, so I'll save that for later. But so some of my favorite detox support elements when I was newly postpartum were enemas, particularly water enemas. If you're struggling with any level of constipation, water enemas are great. They also can support your digestion when it's kind of just getting started after you had your baby. If you want to avoid some of those more like laxative type pills that you may get in the hospital or from a midwife, doing an enema is an awesome replacement. Doing things like oil pulling. Oil pulling is just a very gentle way to detox. It's a good way to pull toxins from your mouth, especially when your teeth can take such a hit postpartum if you are not like getting enough minerals, which you should get enough minerals, but oil pulling can be a good way to support your teeth during postpartum period. And then also just sunbathing. I wish I had more time outside in the sun. I wish I had just propped myself out there. And if you have the money to spend on really good outdoor furniture before you have your baby, I would recommend doing it because as much time as you can spend outside as possible is going to benefit you and your baby so much. You can actually get rid of jaundice by just giving your baby sunlight. And for you and your baby, vitamin D is going to be so important, and just letting yourself sunbathe to the capacity that you and your baby can is going to be a really safe and gentle way to detox postpartum while you're also getting like the nutrients from the sun. I did get some questions about coffee enemas. I have heard from Dr. Becky that coffee enemas postpartum are completely fine. I was cautioned against them in pregnancy because of the idea of them getting, transferred toxins being transferred to the baby. I have heard mixed reviews on this. I stayed away from them in my pregnancy for the most part, but coffee enemas postpartum are a way to cleanse the colon and cleanse your liver. And so that's not going to be affecting your breast milk from what I've heard, from what I understand. Enemas are a great way to get toxins out of your body so that you're no longer like putting that toxic burden on to your baby. And the reality is we transfer our microbiome. And so everything that's in our body does get transferred to our baby's body. And as much as you can minimize your toxic burden in a way that feels safe and conducive to your health, I would do so. But really, this is a time of rest. I just want to encourage you, take this time to rest, prepare your foods. Check out my free recipe guide in the description box below if you're interested in getting some good postpartum meals, some really quick, fast, and easy ones. And if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. It is my passion to walk alongside people as they heal and grow. It inspires me and hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.